All right, hello and welcome. So excited for today's session. We're going to be talking all about Google Maps and how to get ranked on the Google map in your service area for the most important keywords. We're going to talk about kind of why that's important. We're going to talk about, whether it's still relevant in today's market. We're going to talk about some of the latest changes in the Google map that you need to be aware of. So if you're on with me live, type maps in the comments just to let me know that you're ready to rock and roll. You're ready to get into this topic. Really getting ranked on the map is part of the accelerated growth model, where we talk about driving leads, maximizing conversion, and optimizing results, and all of the little pieces and elements that go into that. But the fact is, if you want to accelerate your growth, and I really believe any contractor can triple their sales over a 12 to 24 month period by getting all of these elements in place. And if you haven't already checked it out, you can check out How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. I've got a deep dive training on that, as well as my book. But it really falls into these three pillars, right? Driving leads, maximizing conversion, optimizing results. When it comes to driving leads, we've got organic, paid, and database marketing back to your existing customer base. Today, we're going to be focused right here on the organic side of the equation. In a previous webinar, I went deep with what to do with your website and the website itself to get ranked organically. Today is going to be all around the Google map and how to get ranked in the Google map in your service area. And of course, it's part of our digital dominance method. So kind of as we kick things off, I'd love it if you could kind of play by these ground rules and kind of participate in this way. Turn off your cell phones, turn off Facebook, close the other tabs if you're serious about generating better results with Google Maps in your service area, generating more leads, generating more sales, getting better positioned. Let's give this our undivided attention. I promise you, if you focus here, you're going to get some great insights and more likely to implement. On the agenda for today, I'll just kind of hit keynotes here. We're going to talk about the latest updates with Google Maps, right? The algorithm's constantly changing. As a matter of fact, what was working a year ago could actually be bringing your Google Map listing down. So we'll talk about some of those changes and what you need to be aware of. We'll talk about what the 5 biggest issues are that could be bringing your rankings down or preventing you from ranking in the top 3 results. This is really important, so I'll spend a little bit of time there. And then we're going to get right into our proven model for getting ranked in the 3-pack and kind of the specific things you can do on your website, off your website, with your reviews to move your rankings up higher and quicker. And then I'll share some of our favorite tools for systematizing and automating this so that it can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So if that sounds good, give me a 1 in the comments. Again, I love to see live engagement. I love to make sure that this is going to be a good use of you guys' time. So if you can hit 1 in the comments. Amber, thank you. Appreciate it. Rick, Susan, Dave, fantastic. Awesome. So in case you don't know, my name is Josh Nelson. I'm the founder of Plumbing and HVAC SEO. We're a full-service digital marketing agency for plumbing, HVAC, electrical contractors. I'm the author of How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right, available on Amazon and our website. I'm actively involved in PHC, QSC, Service Roundtable, Nexstar, CEO Warrior, and I'm really a student of this information. I love teaching it. I love researching it. I love understanding kind of what's working and what's not working. But I'd say more important than any of that stuff, at this point, our company and me personally have had the opportunity to work with hundreds of some of the top plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors in the country, and been able to help them dominate their local market, many of them seeing millions of dollars of increase in revenue by really dialing in their online marketing. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today isn't hypothetical. It's not like, hey, I read a book on this somewhere. Like, this is real world, what's working in Google Maps for some of the top contractors and some of the most competitive markets across the country. And I will say, this is what we do. As an organization at Plumbing and HVAC SEO, we're on a mission to help triple the sales of 1,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors. And so if you're interested in having us implement these ideas for you and kind of be your digital marketing agency, we would love the opportunity to chat. And it starts with just a lead flow acceleration session where we would look at your website, we would look at your rankings, we would look specifically at your Google Maps and show you where there's room for improvement. And if there's an opportunity to do business, great. If there's not, we still appreciate the opportunity to connect. And so if at any point during this session you would like to do that, you can go to plumberseo.net/schedule, pick a time that works for you. I promise it will not be a high pressure sales pitch. It'll be a good business conversation. You'll walk away with insights. And if it makes sense, we can talk about doing business together. So as we get into this conversation around Google Maps and really what it takes to get ranks on the Google Maps, we should start with why. And does Google Maps even matter, right? If you think about it and you kind of are studying this, the dynamic has shifted. It used to be the map was the first thing you saw when you looked for a plumber or a HVAC contractor or an electrician on Google. And the results page has changed, right? Now they've got Google guaranteed or local service ads at the top, and then they've got paid ads, and it's moving further and further down the page. And so you may be wondering, shouldn't I just do LSA, or shouldn't I just do pay-per-click and focus all my attention there? What I can say based on the latest trends, and I'm going to share lots of data on this because we've got lots of information with all of our clients here. But what we do know is that still 44% of the clicks when someone searches go to the map listing. So, that's where a lot of people are clicking. That's where a lot of people are calling from. They're bypassing the paid listings. They're bypassing Google guaranteed, and they're still clicking and calling directly from the map listing. So I would say, yes, absolutely Google Maps matter. And kind of to explain that further, one of the clients we work with is Shamrock Plumbing. And if you search Orlando plumbers here, they come up right there on the Google map. And just looking at the data for them, they spend about $3,000 a month with us, all predominantly organic. And you can see about 819 leads tracked. But really what I want to call your attention to here is of those 819 leads, 405 of them come directly from the Google map. And so that's huge, right? If they weren't ranking well on the map, they'd be missing on a lot of those leads and a lot of those calls. And another example here, looking at this over a long period of time, is Nixco Plumbing. If we type Mason, Ohio plumber, you see they come up right there on the Google map listings. And I kind of charted this back from 2019. So, if you think back then, the map was the place. It was just, that's where people clicked, and there really wasn't any other options. And so if we look back then, they were spending about $2,000 a month with us, 412 leads tracked, 183 directly from Google Maps. Fast forward another year, as they're ranking still really strongly on the Google map, spend 4,572 leads, now 176 directly from Google Maps. Fast forward to most recent, 352 leads directly from Google Maps. And so that number has increased. That number is trending up regardless of, I'm going to mute Fred there, regardless of the fact that things have moved down. And so, yes, it's still important to play in this place, right? I think organic is still critical. And that's why this is good that you're spending this time learning what's going on with Google Maps, figuring out how to optimize your listing and how to move up the results for the most important keywords on your map listings. Steve and George, I'll be kind of unpacking some of the specific things that we do in order to get these types of rankings. Here's another company we work with, Fargo, North Dakota. This is Laney's. 835 leads directly from the Google map. Jump forward 1,408 directly from the Google map, now to 1,640. So there's a lot to be said for ranking well on the Google map. If you look at the number of leads you can generate proportionately to your overall marketing strategy. What we do find is the average cost per lead is going to be less when we rank on Google Maps, and it's going to be the lowest cost, highest quality lead, because they're basically choosing you and they're selecting your organization in that way. So did not want to beat a dead horse. I did put a lot of slides here about this, but yes, emphatically give me a yes in the comments if that makes sense. There's a lot of people clicking, there's lots of leads, and there's lots of sales to be made by making sure we're ranking well in the map listings. So some of the biggest changes, just to be aware, kind of, the ball's constantly moving, the algorithm is constantly kind of being modified. Over time, the map listings were reduced from 7 results that showed up on the map to just 3, right? And this has been for a couple of years now where there's just 3. Google's also serving paid ads in the map. So if you set up your Google ads correctly, you can also be ranking in maps, usually only just one listing that comes up with a paid result. But there's a paid component coming into it. I believe there's going to be more and more of that down the track, right? As Google looks to monetize the search results, they're monetizing local service ads, they're monetizing pay-per-click. Eventually, they're probably going to start to monetize the Google map listings. At this point, it's still not hyper monetized. Like, you can't buy the #1 spot. You can't even pay on a per-click basis other than through your standard Google Ads rotation. Local service ads is available in all of the markets. I'm going to talk a little bit about local service ads, but it's showing up in all the search results for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical, and you pay on a per-click basis. So basically, what was shifted from was this Google Ads and Google My Business to now Google local service ads, 1 or 2 paid results. You see it differently in different places, and the kind of the organic map listing there. So that's some of the changes and kind of how the SERP results have evolved over time. I do want to put a footnote for those of you that it's all about organic, and I want to make sure I'm ranking in the organic listings. Don't sleep on local service ads. Like, this is absolutely a great lead source. We're finding the quality of your lead from local service ads is still going to be lower, and I mean, it's going to be lower cost per lead and higher quality than just Google Ads directly. I say you want to do all three, but if you haven't gone through the vetting process to get added to local service ads, this is an exercise worth doing, and it's an exercise doing worth well. And so I did a really long webinar on local service ads last month. So if you want a link to that, where I walk you through exactly how to play the local service ads game and how to really set it up correctly and how to manage it, let me know in the comments, and we'll make sure to get you the link to that. But really, I mean, this is kind of how the search result page looks today. Like, we've got local service ads, we've got Google Ads, we've got the map, and we've got the organic. Really, what I suggest is we want to be playing, if we're really focused on accelerated growth in our plumbing, HVAC, electrical business, we want to be playing this game. Like, we want to show up as often as possible where our customers are looking, right? So we want to be in local service ads rotation. We want to be in the paid results. We want to be on maps, and we want to be coming up organically. And even at some level, we want to show up organically for our company website, but maybe we also want to come up for our Yelp listing and our Angie listing, which there's an angle for that. And so really the ideal outcome with your organic and paid strategy is we want to show up all the places our customers are looking. And really, if we can have a couple of placeholders, that's going to give us a doubling or a tripling impact in terms of the amount of leads we can generate for the same spend. So hopefully that makes sense. The place to sign up for local service ads is google.com/localservices-sign up. If you're a client, we can help you set up this process. If you're interested in having this managed, because there's lots of steps to managing local service ads outside of just setting it up and putting money in, we do have a local service ads service. And so feel free to schedule a time and learn more about how we can help you with that if that's something you're interested in. But again, this is the outcome that we're after, right? We want to have, the #1 map listing, the #1, local service ad listing. We want a couple times organically, and it absolutely can be done when you've got your content strategy and some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you on today's session. So some of you maybe have been at this game with with Google and Google Maps for 6, 7, 10 years, and maybe at one point you were ranking well on the map and you fell off, or maybe you've been trying and just haven't been able to get there because there's so many fake listings. Google has really put an emphasis on spammy fake listings, fake locations, companies that don't actually have a plumbing company in the area they're claiming to serve, and that they've pinned themselves on Google. And latest stat here is they've reduced fake listings by almost 70%. And so that comes with good and it comes with bad. The good part is, if you're a legitimate contractor and you have a real location, that's going to take some of the junk off the results page, giving you a better probability of coming up in those results. But the bad part of it is if you played that game and if you set up a bunch of fake listings, that might have harmed your rankings, maybe even for your true location as well. So some good and some bad with this change over the last couple of years. But there's been a lot of misinformation about how to get ranked on the Google map, about what's acceptable, about what actually works with getting ranked in the map in your area. And most of you plumbing, HVAC, electrical contractors hire out services like ours, like other companies to do it. And a lot of bad actors have come into this industry where they said, hey, we'll get you ranked in 9 different markets and we're going to claim these map listings and we're going to do this thing for you. And what we found is oftentimes what has been done in the last 2, 3, 5 years could actually be hurting the way that you rank on the map today. And so I want to talk about the key things that could be hurting you so that you can be aware of it, and so that you can make the necessary corrections to get back to where you want to be and to kind of get to the place where you should be ranking over time. So the number one thing that could be hurting your rankings on the Google map right now is that you actually need an office in the city that you're targeting. So if you're in, I use this as an example, if you're in Little Rock, Arkansas, and you want to rank in the Little Rock market, but your office happens to be in North Little Rock, or it happens to be in one of the surrounding towns, it's going to be very hard for you to rank, especially if there's lots of other contractors already with real locations in that area. And so this is one of those things you have to jump through hoops. There's a verification process, but really you're in the best place possible if you have a physical location, a true commercial location in the city that you're trying to rank for. And if you're getting promised, hey, don't worry about it, I know you're not in that city, we're going to get you ranked on the map anyways, they're probably going to try and do something fishy, or they're going to potentially harm your ability to rank in a city that your actual location happens to be in. So you need a city. Number 2 is if you tried to spam the listings over the years, you or the company that happened to be doing this for you in the past, let's say you set up 9 different GMB or Google My Business profiles and you got pins for those and you tried to rank in 9 different markets, even if you have a true location in the main city that you're trying to target, Google may have filtered your company and said, okay, this company's full of it. And now even your main location isn't going to come up the way that it should. We've seen a lot of this over the years. There's ways to remedy it, right? The best thing to do is to kind of close those locations, keep the main location active, and do some of the things I'm going to be showing you here on today's session to bolster the authority of your main location. Number 3 is inconsistency of your name, address, phone number. So when it comes down to ranking, Google's looking for expertise, authority, and trust. They're looking for true companies in the true service area. And so it's really important that the way that you list your company's name doesn't have a lot of extra keywords in it, and that it's being referenced the same way on Google as it is on Yelp, as it is on Angie, as it is on all of these different places. And so this is one of those gotchas where if you've got 3 or 4 different variations of your company name showing up in a bunch of different places, you're not getting the authority that you should, and that could potentially bring your map listings down. The other thing we see, and this is actually it's a gray area, but adding keywords like plumber Dallas if you're in Dallas, to your company name on Google Map, that's against the terms of service, right? And so somebody might have thought they were clever and gone in and changed your Google profile listing to add a bunch of different keywords. And what I'm seeing when I say this is a little bit of a gray area is that there are companies that are actually benefiting from that, right? They've added their city and their keywords to their company name on Google, and you see them ranking. You're like, well, if they're getting away with it, why can't I? Well, maybe you could for a short period, but over time, that can and will probably catch up with you unless you go change your name. So if you're Bill's Plumbing and then you change it to Bill's Plumbing, best plumber in Dallas, you could probably benefit from that. But there's a lot of extra hoops and it does seem pretty spammy. But that's one way to get around this particular thing with spamming the categories and spamming your company name. And then number 5 thing that could be preventing you from ranking well in maps is you don't have enough reviews, right? all other things being equal, and we'll talk about the three-step formula that we found works best. All other things being equal, if you've got a real city, a real location in the city you're trying to rank, you got a properly optimized listing, but you've got 12 reviews, and the next competitor, the top competitor, has 1,900 reviews, they're probably going to have a lot more authority than you, right? And so you're going to have to really bolster your reviews. And we'll talk about some strategies to do that kind of out of the gates and then on an ongoing basis. But if you don't have enough reviews, you're going to be struggling to keep up with the competition. So those are some of the things that could be preventing you. All of them can be remedied. All of them can, there's certain things you can do in each of these areas. So if you're struggling with any of those 5, let us know, right? And we can kind of help brainstorm with you how to get around some of these issues and how to move things forward. So the three-step formula that we found works best for getting ranked on the Google map in the right way, in a sustainable way, is really simple. Number 1 is we've got to claim our Google My Business listing or a Google Profile Manager. We want to claim it and we want to optimize it. There are very specific things you can do on the listing in terms of the way you upload the pictures, the way you write your description, the categories you select that can really give you a good foundation to build from. So first, we got to claim and optimize it. Second is we've got to have lots of references or citations of our company's name, address, and phone number, right? There's links and there's citations. Citations are actually like your company name, address, phone number referenced in a lot of different places. And then you got to have online reviews. And so we need a strategy to get reviews from your past customers and to get reviews on an ongoing basis from your real customers in your true service area. And then you got to have proper on-page optimization, right? We got to make sure the site is set up in a very specific way. I'm going to talk about the basics of this. There's another webinar that I did, I think it was last month, where I went deep on exactly what to do with your website, how to structure your content, how to build the links and the authority to move up organically. But when you get this done right, we got lots of citations, consistency of the name, address, phone number. We've got lots of reviews and new reviews coming in on a consistent basis. And we've got a great optimization on the website itself. We can really rank quite well over time in the Google map. And so I want to talk a little bit about expertise, authority, and trust, right? What Google wants to do with their search engine when someone's looking for a plumber or HVAC contractor or an electrician is they want to list the companies in Google Maps that are the most authoritative, the most trustworthy, because they want their customer that's looking to get a good experience, to have their problem solved, because if they do, they're going to go back again. And so the latest information from Google tells us that it's really about your trust signals. Can Google trust that you're a legitimate company, that you are who you say you are, that you're going to do a good job for the customer? And so your brand authority is important, right? If you think about like a really nice logo and a nice truck and doing advertising in your local market, your brand authority, and that's not just your website, but it's the authority that you have in the local market space, has a big impact. The way that you're verified, right? There's been a lot of changes to the way that you verify your Google My Business listing. In the past, it was just they would send you a postcard, you'd get that in the mail, and you'd key that in on the back end. Well, now they're doing a lot of other things. And so you can be double verified, which means you get the PIN and you do it through some other channel. You can do video verification. And this often is getting triggered if somebody looks at your listing and says, they're fake, they're not really where they say they are. That gets flagged inside of Google. And then Google wants to do what they call video verification, where they see, is there a real location here? Is there some signage? Does this look like a real company? Being video verified is one of the higher quality ways that you can get to validate that you're a legitimate location. So while it's a little bit of an annoying process, it is useful. Sometimes even getting triggered and having video verification validated now gives you double verification, which is the highest level that you can have in terms of the way that your Google My Business or Google Business Profile is verified. Live video recorded, that, the postcard, that's what most of you guys have. Like if you think about how you were verified in the past by yourself or with your contractor, if you've been on maps for 17 years or 5 years or however long it's been, somebody requested a postcard, you keyed in the postcard, and that was as far as it went. You can get some extra juice in terms of your authority by getting the video verification, email, phone. So the verification method's important, right? And I know most of you guys have been doing this for a long time. You already are on Google Maps, but if you're not ranking in the top 3, there may be a place to say, hey, let's trigger a verification here and get double verified so that we can have more authority, expertise, and trust. So brand authority, verification method. The third is the number of reviews, right? If you look in most markets, the companies that have the top 3 spots are usually the number 1 has the most reviews or the second most reviews. So it's not just reviews, but reviews is one of the strongest ranking factors in play here in terms of getting ranked on the map. So we want to have more reviews than the competition, and that should be a target, right? If you're trying to rank in whatever your city is for whatever the service is, look at who the top 3 are and then gamify that. Like literally say, okay, if the top 3 have an average of 726 reviews and we've only got 312, that's the delta, right? Let's go get the team on board. Let's get everybody excited. Let's all shoot towards getting at least 725 Google reviews to really move the needle in terms of your ranking on maps. But the second one is also important, is review velocity, which means how many new reviews are you getting on an ongoing basis? If all you did was send an email to your customer base and got a bunch of reviews 1 month and then didn't get any new for the rest of the year, that's going to show an impact, right? So review velocity means if you're a trusted provider that's coming up in maps, you would be getting new reviews on a consistent basis from real people with real Google accounts that have been verified over time. So review velocity is an important factor. Recently unsuspended, because this happens sometimes. Your account gets suspended, and like I was saying, it's because Google tried to update something and they didn't hear back, or somebody said you were fake, and so that flagged the system and you got suspended, or you moved from one location to another. If you are suspended, that's a pain in the neck. That means you're not coming up in maps. But if you go through the process of updating the profile and then verifying either through video verification or some other process, that usually moves the needle relatively quickly in terms of you getting ranked. Now, assuming you've got enough reviews to be in the game. So recently unsuspended is useful. And then back-end engagement. And this is where having somebody that didn't just set it and forget it for you has a really big impact. Yes, we want to claim and optimize the Google listing. And there's lots of little things I'm going to share with you on how to do that and get the most from it. But somebody should be logging into your Google profile a couple times per month, uploading videos, uploading pictures, updating office hours, replying to reviews, replying to Q&As. I'm not going to say this is the number 1 driver, right? Because you could be in there every day, but if you don't have enough reviews and you don't have enough citations, you're not going to be relevant. But all other things being equal, if you get almost as many reviews as the competition, you've got a legitimate location, you've got as many citations, this back-end engagement is going to be a driver that can move you forward in terms of how you rank. Easy thing is upload a couple pictures of your team, upload a couple pictures of your guys out on the job, update a picture of the lady at the office answering the phone. That's simple stuff. Updating the office hours, updating some additional information, posting to Google Posts. But the most important is replying to reviews, right? Making sure if somebody posts a good review or a negative review, taking the time to thank them. Hey, we really appreciate your business. So excited to continue to work with you. Or, hey, I'm really sorry you had a bad experience. We'd love to talk with you about how we can make it right. Make sure that all of your reviews are getting responded to on a timely basis. That's going to give you a notch in the right direction. Complete a profile, like we're going to.
Way too complicated. It changed.
Somebody chimed in. Thanks for jumping on that, whoever muted it. Complete a profile. I'm going to talk about some specific things. You want to have your store code, your logo, your cover image, images of your work. There's like a profile completion score in Google Profile, and you want to complete that to the farthest extent possible, right? Obviously, we want to go on Google and give them all of the information they could possibly need or want to look at us as a trusted profile, as a trusted company on Google. hopefully that helps, guys. There's some specific things we can do to bolster our authority, and this trust factor is huge. Give me a 1 if that makes sense, and if you're still tracking along with me on this stuff. I know I'm kind of hitting lots of bullets, but I want to make this practical and useful as possible. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, so then the next is local link strategies. And I'm kind of leading with this information because it's some of the new information. And we always hear claim to Google My Business, get some citations, but local links, and not national links, but really local relevant links, can be super impactful for how we rank on the map in our true service area. And so some of the strategies you might want to look at that we found work pretty well is local sponsorships, like sports teams and clubs and things like that. Think about the local baseball, club, the local, local YMCA. They usually have sponsorship opportunities where you can, usually they're letting you put a banner on the outside of their, their fence or something like that. What we like to do is negotiate with them to say, hey, let us sponsor somewhere on your website, link back to us, and then maybe we can do a press release about this. Maybe we can get the news involved with the fact that our plumbing company is sponsoring this team or sponsoring this organization. This is true local authority. So we're not just gaming the system at this point, like posting stuff out. We're finding a local organization we can align with that we're going to help invest into with our financial resources. But it doesn't have to be a lot. Usually they're just asking for a couple $100, and fully leverage it, right? Because if all you did was buy the opportunity to put your name on the t-shirt, that's only going to go so far. It's only going to have so many eyeballs. But if you can get them to link back to you and you can tap into the news, and then you're trying to figure out how to get that link to point back, not just to your homepage, but also to your local listing on Google, this is going to build your authority. And this is relatively simple thing that you can implement that will actually move the needle in terms of how you rank on the Google Maps. Hosting community events. So this could be at your facility if you have one. It could be renting a small location and just doing a mixer. And you're bringing together other contractors, you're bringing together homeowners, and you could do this at Christmas, you could do this at the 4th of July, you could do this at any of the major holidays. And what we're trying to do with an event like this is you can put it on the local meetup sites. That's going to build authority. Obviously, it's going to have a true marketing viral effect because you're going to actually be spending time with your colleagues as well as your potential customers. But you can also use this as a news story. Hey, we're doing this local meetup with the local contractors in the San Francisco area. And if you can get the news media involved, like with a legitimate release, the citation authority and the link authority that you get from those types of local events can be super powerful. So just an idea to think about there. Create a local resources page on your site. So this is where you would list other resources your clients could benefit from, like the local, if you have roofing problems, here's a local roofing company we recommend. Here's a local place we recommend for, buying your home, stuff. Think about the people you refer every single day. If you set up a local resources page on your website and you start to recommend them, that, you're linking out at that point, but that builds some authority. But then you can reach out to those organizations and say, hey, we just listed you on our recommended providers page here, our recommended damage restoration company, our recommended roofing company, and say, hey, would you be interested in setting up a page like this as well? And then, you can get that backwards link authority from a very local organization that might have some authority as well. We find it, if you do this right, and there's a spammy way to do it, but there's also like an authoritative way to do it, it can have a huge impact on not just your Google, map rankings, but your organic rankings and your relationships in the industry and in the local market, which is going to build organic, traffic and word of mouth as well. Sponsor scholarships. So we find this a lot, you could do this for the local school. Hey, XYZ is going to sponsor this child to go through this training. It could also be you're going to sponsor someone that just came out of high school and you're going to put them through trade school, right? So that they can start to become an apprentice and start to come through your organization. Maybe you're doing that already, right? I find a lot of you guys are, because it's a great recruitment play. When you do things like that, that is newsworthy, right? So, hey, Paul the plumber just sponsored this student in this particular market, and then you reach out to the local news and say, hey, look, we're doing this sponsorship. Maybe you're not doing it just for this reason, but it can also, build authority, can build links. Find the local sites in your market. There's local news, there's local entertainment, there's local other providers, and they all have websites. They're all looking for content. And so if you can share some piece of content about indoor air quality or something you're doing with plumbing or some innovative idea that would benefit their site, those local sites carry lots of weight. The other thing you could do, it would be to host interviews with local celebrities and promote those interviews. So, there's national celebrities, which are very hard to access, but there's people local to your market, like maybe the radio host or the TV news anchor. If you interview them, again, all I'm trying to do is share examples of how you can build local proximity, local trust. It takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of energy, but if you were to do even 2 of these and you get it picked up and you get it linked around, it's going to build your authority and it's going to build your awareness in the industry. So hopefully that's helpful. I wanted to lead with some very specific things that I think can really, really drive the needle in terms of building your trust and authority, which is where it's at in terms of getting ranked for your most important keywords. So now, going to the Google profile, the Google business profile, if you've got access to this, and you should, I think, even if you've subcontracted this to someone on your team or you've subcontracted this to a third-party provider, you should have access to your Google My Business or your Google business profile. And you should be able to look at it and see, are these things done? Have we checked these boxes, or are there more things that could be done to kind of move the needle? Make sure you get the login. You want to update the company name to read what your company name is. So I talk about consistency of your name, address, and phone number. You want to make sure if you're, Paul the plumber, it should say the actual name, just like it is on your corporate records that would be on the state site. You want that consistency. Obviously, you want to have your website address. You want to use a local number as the main number on your website. Even if you've got an 800 number, you can add that as a secondary number. That's fine. But if we're talking about Google Map rankings, Google wants to serve the local person in the local city. And so logically, a local area code number is going to be important. So you want to have your local phone number there, not an 800 number. Use a local address, not a PO box, not a UPS store. Sometimes if you have a fake location and you're using like Regis, you can get away with that potentially, or some of these other virtual locations. But in the perfect world, you're using a real company address in a real location where you happen to be based. Now, in terms of secondary things you can do to kind of build even more authority around your listing, you want to upload as many photos as possible. So you can add lots of pictures. Just try and make them as authentic as possible. Just like I always say on your website, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So on your website and on your Google My Business, have real pictures of your team. Like your big team shot would be the primary thing I would want you to have as the main photo that's pinned on Google Maps. Picture your team with the trucks and everybody standing there smiling. That's powerful. That's what we want to see. But you can have individual pictures of your trucks. You can have individual pictures of your equipment. You can have individual pictures of your technicians. You can have pictures of your technicians at the home. You can have your pictures of your technicians doing specific things. Be creative and load really lots of good content. You can load pictures of your coupons and your special offers. That's the kind of stuff you want. Obviously, update your hours of operations and the services offered. This is another gotcha. Like, if you're only available to answer the phone live between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., and you list your hours as 9 to 5, just like with the local service ads, during those hours, you're going to fall off the map listings in a lot of cases, not every case. But I think as long as you can get someone to answer the phone, even if it's a phone service, mark your hours as probably more extended than your actual office hours, if that makes any sense. If you're 24/7 and you can answer the phone 24/7, you might as well show yourself as available on maps at least 24/7. So, this is just a screenshot of Google Maps, right? So if you were to log in, you'd see over here like your posts, your info, your insights, your reviews, messages. Up here in photos, that's where you're going to want to put the photos, and be strategic with this. Like, get a lot of photos in there. You might as well fill the listing as much as possible. Make sure that your listing is verified. Again, we want to have double verified. That might require us to get on a Zoom video-based session with Google and show them, yeah, look, here's the office, here's the signage, and it's worth going through that hoop. That's where you upload more and more photos over time. There are some cool insights inside Google profile where you can see on insights how many people looked on your Google Maps directions to get to you. One of my favorites is how many called, right? And because most people search on their mobile phones today, they'll search your company name, they'll click the click to call button. You can see how many people actually called your office directly from Google Business. Some other best practices: update photos on a consistent basis. Try to have somebody that's remembering to go in and add new photos. Like I said, back-end activity on your Google My Business profile makes a difference. So whether that's us, if we're your service provider, or somebody on your team, have somebody logging in and doing things, you should be posting at least once every 90 days. Google Posts stay live for 90 days. I suggest at least once a month, some type of post, like something going on in the organization, some new special that you're running. Doing that on a consistent basis can be very useful. Respond to your reviews. 100% respond to every single review that you get, good, bad, or indifferent. Respond in a meaningful way. You can add keywords to the response. So if they wrote a review, hey, you guys were fantastic, I highly recommend you. You might want to look up and see, what did we do? Oh, we did a water heater installation here. Oh, thank you so much for allowing us to install that new water heater in your home. I'm sure it's going to provide great hot water for the next 20 years. And we're really excited to continue to serve any of your plumbing needs. So you can be creative with the way that you respond. And I'm not saying that having that keyword is going to make you rank, for water heaters, but it couldn't hurt, right? Having those keywords on your profile and associated with your profile. And then answer questions that get posted. What I find is in home services, in Google Maps, there's a place where you can ask questions and get answers. What I find in reality here in plumbing and HVAC, you guys don't get a lot of questions. People aren't like logging in and saying, hey, when are you available to come out to my house? Or even technical questions like, what's the difference between a tankless and tanked water heater? Or, is it wise to use a digital thermostat, versus an analog? They don't ask it. They might be thinking it. And so what I would recommend is think about what those common questions are. You probably have created blog content on your website about it anyways, and seed those questions in your own Google Business profile, right? There's no reason you can't go in and ask a question and then answer it. And if you have a couple of questions that have been answered, I absolutely believe that's going to drive more authority for your rankings, more authority for your listing. There's a great book called They Ask, You Answer. I highly recommend it. Even if you're not doing this stuff yourself, it will help you think more creatively about, what are people thinking? How can I make sure I'm thinking about the questions my customers ask and answering them on my website, in my blog, on my social profiles, and on my Google listing. Again, this is a powerful play to move up your authority. So that's the first thing, right? We talked a lot about, properly claiming and optimizing your Google listing. Number one takeaway, ideally for you guys, would be get access to it, right? Even if you're the owner, even if you're not going to, log in ever, get access to the login so you know what's what, and you can see it. This is one of the most powerful properties that you control. And I think your location, where your office is a powerful property, right? I think your trucks are a powerful property that you own within your business. Your website is a powerful property that you own, that you want to be able to know that you've got access to. And I think your Google listing is another extremely powerful property that you need to know how to get into, so that you or somebody on your team, even if you subcontract, can look at and kind of know what's going on. So that's the first piece. The second piece is we need to build trust. We got to have consistency of your name, address, phone number across the web. And so that means on Google, on Yelp, on Angie, on all of these different sites, if Google's trying to find a profile for your organization, right? And they want to serve the real companies in the real service area that are legit. We need to have lots of web references. We need to be consistent with the name, address, phone number. We're using the same number, the same information across the web. And we need to eliminate duplicate listings and inaccurate data and inaccurate information across the web. And so this is just a little visual, right? Like there's probably 500 plus relevant directories that you could be listed in. And being in them is helpful. More challenging is having consistent information in all of them. And so one thing that we suggest that we do with all of our clients is make sure that you're in the major data aggregators. And the top four are Factual, Axiom, Infogroup, and Neustar. And ultimately, all of those directories pull from these main sources to say who the company is, what their address is, what their phone number is. And what we find is out of the gates, this can be useful to distribute lots of new information across the web if you're starting a new location, right? Adding to the data aggregators first is a great place to start. But the other place this really helps is if you've got your listing already and you've been doing this for 20 years and there's lots of inaccurate information. And let's say maybe you go into Yelp and you update it, and then you go into Angie and you update it, but there's still wrong information that keeps spawning. Usually you got to go back to the source of these top three aggregators and update it here, and then give it a little time to matriculate, and then go back into those listings and flesh them out, right? And update the right address, add pictures, add offers, and things along those lines. So this is something to pay close attention to. And then there's great citation tools to help you find relevant citations that you might want to add yourself to. I'm a big fan of Bright Local. We use this extensively in our agency. White Spark has a citation finder, Advice Local, Moz Local. And then the one that we all know is kind of the category killer is Yext. And so Yext basically has a feed to the top, I think it's like top 75 directories, like Yelp and like MapQuest and Foursquared and all of these different sites. It's a little bit expensive. As an agency, we get a very discounted rate in order to handle it. But what it does is you update your listing and your description and your photos and your coupons inside of Yext, and then it pushes out to those top directories. There's other tools like it, but in terms of speed and in terms of like eliminating duplicate listings, in terms of being able to update to multiple profiles simultaneously, Yext is a great tool. It's a great place to start. Again, as a service business owner, I would never recommend signing up for Yext directly because it's extremely expensive. But if you work with an agency like ours, we get volume discounts because we've got hundreds of clients, and we can just roll it into our service, and it works really, really well in conjunction with the data aggregators. And by plugging into these tools, you can get very consistent data. You can be in all of the different places, and you can have lots of relevancy as it relates specifically to the citations that you have. I've got a great free resource for you guys if you want to just kind of get a sense, like, how does your citation footprint look today? Like, if you were to look up, and what does Google see when they look at your organization across all of the major profiles? If you go to plumberseo.net/scan, that's plumberseo.net/scan, it'll take you to a place that asks you to enter your company name, your address, and your phone number, and it will scan for you. It usually only takes a couple of seconds, and it will spit out a report that shows, okay, you've got this amount of inaccuracy in terms of your name, address, phone number. You've got these listings that you're not in yet. And sometimes it's just good to do a quick scan and see, do we have this under control? Is there lots of inaccuracy? Because you can have a great real location, but if you don't have consistency, it's going to negatively impact your ability to rank. So I'll give you guys all a quick sec to drop yourself into plumberseo.net/scan. It's just a free resource to see kind of where you sit with that consistency. How are we doing, guys? We talked about claiming your Google listing, and we talked about citations. Give me a 2 in the comments if that was helpful. You kind of have some new insights here on the importance of citations and the importance of consistency of those citations. Fantastic. And again, if you're watching this after, just take a couple seconds, put yourself into plumberseo.net/scan and get that listing report to see how Google will see you across the web. Some best practices on this particular point. Manually claim your Google profile. Don't use Yext to claim that. You want to have an individual login for your Google account. Again, I could say this 100 times, but I really wanted to hammer home. I know that you don't do Google listings in your business. You still want access to your Google profile. I would suggest using a tool like Yext that can push you out to the most important directories. But really, they're somewhere between the top 70, 50 to 75. It's somewhere in that range today. That doesn't give you access to everything. I think there's 500 relevant citations that you want to be in your plumbing, HVAC, electrical business. So don't stop with Yext. Get yourself added to the data aggregators. Most new directories kind of leech from those profiles in order to add you so you can get like secondary listings. And then I would use a tool like Bright Local or WhiteSpark or Logan Axe to find even more citation opportunities, right? And I'm not suggesting you as the plumbing HVAC business owner do this, right? Even if you were the director of marketing, but it's good to know that that's kind of the level that you want to go through to build your citations and build your authority. And then a company like ours can come in and execute that for you to make sure you've got the consistency and you've got the type of citations that you need in order to rank really, really well in your service area. And I do have a resource in case you're geeking out on this and you want to kind of know, I want to know what citations. He said there was 500 or so. If you go to plumberseo.net/citations, there I've got a list of what I find to be the most relevant citations. And there's something to be said for going into the most important ones like Angie, like Thumbtack, like Yelp, and actually building out your profile manually in those listings and kind of making sure you've got all of the boxes checked inside those directory listings and things along those lines. Okay, so moving on, we talked about claiming the profile and optimizing it. We talked about building citations. The next thing is we've got to have lots of reviews, right? And really what we want is lots of reviews from our existing customers in our true service area. Some best practices for this that we found work best. Let's face it, reviews don't just make your Google rankings better, right? They're gonna bolster your conversion. Your customer or your potential customer wants to see that you're a legitimate company and that you've got real reviews. And really what I want to suggest is that you have a tool where after every service call, an email and a text message goes out. Hey, thanks so much for your business. We'd love the opportunity. We appreciate the opportunity to serve you. If you could take a minute and write us a review, right? You want to have that review request go out after every single service call, good, bad, or indifferent, right? Because you're going to get the velocity of reviews in that way. You want to leave a printed review card. We have these little cards, then we train the technician to say, hey, we really appreciate your business. I'd love it if you'd write us a review. Here, here's a card with a QR code that you can scan that will take you right to our Google listing where you can post a review. And then you also want to train the technicians to plant that seed, because if they leave the card and they plant the seed that, look, my performance in this organization is judged on the number of reviews that I get. I actually get spiffed based on reviews. So it would mean a lot to me if you take a minute to write a review. If you train them to set that expectation, to leave a card, and then you've got the automation running in the background where an email and text message goes out saying, hey, thanks so much for your business, you have a higher probability of getting the review. But I'd say the biggest thing, if I look at all of our clients that have the most reviews and the most consistent new reviews, it's about having a culture of getting reviews, right? If you don't have the culture that your team's happy to work with your company, they're excited about serving the customers, they want to create a world-class experience, and they know that you as the owner are going to recognize
for a little bit, okay? Because I know you're a thirsty girl.
That you're going to recognize that behavior, then you're not going to get tons of reviews. The companies that are getting like 2 reviews for every 5 service calls, they're providing a great experience. They're meeting with their team on a weekly basis and training them, and they've kind of told the team, and the team knows they want reviews. And they're like calling out, hey, Billy got this review this week. It was 5 stars, and this is what the customer said. And they're spiffing either per review or they're spiffing like on a contest basis based on those reviews on a consistent basis. If you're not doing that, it's going to be hard for you to compete, even if you've got great automation tools. So you have to bake it into the culture of the organization. The one thing I've found that has accelerated reviews for our clients than anything else we've done is eliminating any manual interaction, right? So in the past, if you wanted to request a review, you had to send an email, and like somebody in the office would copy and paste, or they use a template. And then some automation started to exist, like we use Nearby Now, which is a great tool where the technician checks in the field, and when they close the job, a review request goes out. But both of those require somebody to manually go to a task. If we can remove that manual part, the number of review requests and ultimately the number of reviews skyrockets. And so what I'm going to suggest is, let's say you use ServiceTitan or House Call Pro, make sure that you've got automation in place where once the job closes, it triggers whatever review automation platform you use. Whether it's Nearby Now, Review Buzz, PulseM, Conversion Amp, which was our tool, make sure that you're eliminating that manual process. We find that when we trigger automatically once a job is closed, just the review count skyrockets. Hopefully it can be done, right? Regardless of what system you use, you can automate it to request a review after every service call. So be sure that you've got the culture of reviews and that you're doing it on a consistent basis. 5-star reviews are important. Occasionally you're going to get bad reviews, right? Let's just face it. You're going to get the 3, you're going to get the 2, you're going to get the 1, and that's par for the course, right? And you want to respond to those reviews. You want to address those reviews. That makes it seem real. That makes it seem authentic. But what we found is if you're not an average of 4 stars or higher, if your average rating on Google slips to like 3.9 or 3.2, that's an issue. That's an issue with your ranking. It's also an issue with your authority. Like people aren't going to want to do business because it's like, wow, they've got lots of bad reviews as well. So try and do everything you can to make sure you maintain at least a 4-star or higher review average. We find it really makes a difference in terms of your conversion rates and your rankings. And so what I would suggest, if you find yourself lower than 4, and it happens from time to time, even if you provide great services, if you slip it below 4, I would do some type of review activation campaign, which would be to go back to your past customer list of people that would say something good about you and do a blast. Hey, we really appreciate your business. We're looking to build up our authority online. Would you be willing to post us a review? And wait for them to write back yes. And we've got some cool automations on Conversion Amp where when they write back yes, or sure, or I'd be glad to, it automatically says, awesome, I really appreciate, here's the link to our Google profile. I think you could do that on a quarterly basis. Just look back to the entire database and send that review request manually. Again, because if you go from a 3.5 average and you get 5 or 6 5-star reviews, now you're back above 4, that's going to impact a lot of different things in your marketing strategy. So I just wanted to make a point to talk a little bit about that 4 minimum average being super important to pay attention to. I know you guys all provide great service. For most of it's not an issue, but it's worth paying attention to. I had in my slides here some information about on-page optimization. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we're already an hour in, and I just did a webinar on SEO. So if you want more ideas on how to optimize your website itself, how to build your content, please let me know. We'll get you the link to that, and you'll have about as long as we spend here just on how to optimize your website for the search engines. I'm not even gonna talk about it, right? Go back and watch that training. It gives you all the details. I want to be respectful of you guys' time on here today. You've got examples of kind of what we do with our clients and how we get them ranked and kind of what you can do on that particular front. I don't know if, Christian, if you can grab the recording of that session, because it's good stuff. And if you're really serious about this topic, you're going to want to go check it out. The way that you optimize your website, the way that you build your links, the way that you build your authority matters in terms of your Google Maps as well. So what you do on the website's important. The one thing I do want to talk about, though, in terms of link building and citation development, and I talked about some local strategies to get news media pickup, which is super important, is what I call blog and content syndication. A lot of you guys maybe have bought into this idea we need to be blogging on a consistent basis. And you're like, okay, we do a blog every week, or we do a blog every month, and we post it on our site. That doesn't have much reach. That's not building your authority. And so what we suggest and what we do for our clients is syndicated blog content creation. And really that's a function of, we'll write a blog post answering a question or creating some valuable information in the industry. And then when we publish it, it gets picked up by local news sources. And so what we're able to do is every time we post to the blog, also build citations, because those news sites will have an embed of your map and in your name, address, phone number, the way that we need it to be across the web. Those don't even count towards directory listings. It's a whole nother level of citation. And then it also builds links back to your homepage, back to your service page. And so if you're just doing blogging in a vacuum, that's not going to carry as much weight as syndicated content strategies. And so it's just something I want to talk about, and something that we've rolled out that has a huge impact on the way that we can get you ranked in the most important search results. This is a checklist. You guys all have access to this checklist. If you go to plumberseo.net/SEO-checklist, the key things you want to think about on your website, off your website. But what I want to offer you guys today is a free visibility scan. I talked about, if you go to plumberseo.net/scan, we will run a report that shows you where there's inconsistencies with your name, address, and phone number. And if you're interested in having us sit down with you, this is what we do all day, every day with plumbing, HVAC, electrical contractors. We will look at your current online visibility. We'll run a list of the most important keywords you want to pay attention to. We'll show you exactly where you're ranking today. Hey, here's where you're ranking. Here's where you're not ranking. We'll do an analysis of your directory listings. We'll do an analysis of your reputation. And we'll be able to show you, like, here's what's going on with your website today and your online strategy. Here's where we think there's room for improvement. That will be useful insights. I promise you. And there's no hard pitch on this. And then if you're like, you know what, you're right. Let's talk about how you can help us implement this. How you can help us generate better results. We'll talk about our services and how much it costs. So if that sounds interesting, you can call us anytime at 866-610-4647. But if you're on the session right now, you can just go to plumberseo.net/schedule. You go to that page, it will ask you some questions about your company so we can actually do some analysis going into the meeting. And then you'll be able to pick a day and a time that works for you. And it'll kind of show you the schedule. You get to pick what works for you. And then we'll show up and we'll give you some great insights. And if we can help, awesome. If we can't, we'll appreciate the opportunity to kind of show you where we think there's room for improvement. As an additional resource for those of you that really just want to get your hand as many resources as possible, I do have a Google Maps guide that walks you through some of the key things you need to know about Google Maps. You can get that by going to plumberseo.net/maps, and that's specifically for the Google Maps. There's also the SEO checklist, which was already linked here earlier, plumberseo.net/SEO-checklist. Hopefully this has been helpful. I always try and come to these sessions and give information for those of you that are very technical and really want to know the latest, and also insights, ideally, even if you're just the owner and you just want to know what's going on and what you should be paying attention to. Hopefully you got some ideas, some insights, and some next actions. If you'd like to talk about how we can implement this for you, we'd love the opportunity to chat. Again, you can do that by going to plumberseo.net/schedule. That's it for today. Give me some feedback on a scale from 1 to 10. How do we do? Is today a 1, not useful, 10, very useful, 5, kind of in between, awesome. I'm seeing some 10, so that makes me feel good. Thank you guys so much for the feedback. Thanks for being here. If you want to chat, plumberseo.net/schedule. Thank you so much, everybody. Have an amazing afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon.